Competition. How do you deal with competition? Okay, so there's the textbook answer. What's your value proposition? What is the value you're providing? What is the customer experience? How do you support your customers? So you have to go through those KPIs, right? To to understand that, right? Um, Hold on a second. Okay. So you have to go through that process, right? Competition is really who yourself. The competition is the individual, it's the organization, it's the brand. That's the competition. The business takes on a heartbeat. Once you say I'm going into business, it takes on a life, it takes on a heartbeat. And the owners, and those that work within the organization, we get in our own way, and we it's easy for us to sabotage the growth and the development of our business. And that's when outside competition would actually seep in and it becomes a problem. Now, that's not to say that you shouldn't pay attention to who is in the same industry providing the same product and service. You want to know what they do, you want to know how they work, you want to know the type of customers they serve, because it boils down to a lot of different perspectives. The types of customers. Are they young, middle aged, or older customers? You might serve middle age. They may serve older customers, or vice versa, right? They may serve suburban customers and you serve urban customers, or vice versa, right? You may service a particular brand. If you're an auto mechanic and you're a foreign auto mechanic, you might serve only foreign cars. It's not American cars. And then you have those that serve that do American, that don't do foreign. And then you have those that do both, right? So, understanding that. But at the end of the day, it all boils down to what are you doing? How are you managing the seven parts of business, the seven stages of business? How are you managing? How are you measuring? How are you revising? How are you executing in those seven stages of business to keep your business fluid and to keep it growing? Not an easy task by a long shot. None of this is easy, right? And none of this, you don't click your heels and you wake up today, tomorrow, and you're off to the races, right?
Popping off.
Correct. Yeah. But that's my take on competition is you look in the mirror at yourself every day and you ask yourself, what did I do yesterday? What didn't I do yesterday that I could do better today for my customers? And how do I get new customers? And you let that be your driver, because there are other competition going to creep around and say, oh, we need to go after their customers and this, that, and third. But if you're paying attention to yourself and then you have an idea of who's out in the world, believe it or not, people could try to imitate and duplicate, but they can't take originality if you're doing what you're supposed to do. You win some, you lose some, you keep it moving.
Good. I like that. Very good. Very good. I got something though. I got something to build on that.
Okay.
That's even interesting. It goes back to the question we had on marketing. And first thing first is to understand who your competition is. So some of the questions, the way we've lined them up, they're building on one another. Competition in common vernacular is usually adversarial. It's us against them. They're here to take our customers. That's just we're gonna take market share. We're gonna do all that. But I take another approach to competition. That's the silent competition that we're dealing with now because of the way information moves. The first thing in competition, if you're selling something, And if you have something that's especially if it's a want, you're competing with with whoever else is vying for the customer's dollar. That's a big part of competition is you're competing against the alternative. Now in our business, and every business is like that. You're competing against alternative, but you're competing against if you sell ice cream, you're competing against somebody that's selling candy. You know what I'm saying? Like you compete. Why? Because the way people spend money now. People, I mean, it's the last image that was imprinted on my scroll, my doom scroll. Yo, I think I'm gonna go do that. Boom. That's what all this call to action comes with and dealing with. So I think is understanding one, as we said in the beginning, understanding who your customer is, understanding what makes them move, shake, rattle, and roll, whatever you want to call it, and understanding how to get them to spend their money with you, because what part of our competition is the client's mind, even beyond the other companies that we have. Yes, there's competition from other companies. Somebody might say they're doing something. I mean, the easiest thing is someone cuts price, they undercut price or something like that. But we can, that is in the long term isn't necessarily successful. But it's attention. We're competing for attention, folks. In your business, you are really, if you direct the customer B2C, and in some cases B2B in a small business environment, you're competing against attention. And even people that aren't in your industry, you're competing against, because it comes in, am I going to spend money on marketing, or am I going to buy a new truck because I was told that I could write it off, the whole thing, on my taxes?
I got something else to throw at you too that you can answer.
Oh, well, sure. Go ahead. I'm always down for the answer, for the questions.
The other competitor that there's a consumer competitor that you have to deal with too.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that need your service. They reach out for your service. And because they've done some homework, Google, somebody told them something. Yeah.
You mean them?
Yeah. They now have an opinion, a strong opinion about what you should or shouldn't be doing for them.
Oh, yeah.
And so that leads back to where there's another competitor out there that's vying for that dollar just like you are. And most times it's the weirdest. It's like the weirdest dynamic, right? You can be of value to someone, and you can know your stuff really well. And then they value it based off of a dollar amount, and not the understanding or the experience of. And that's because they never went through it. So now they become your competitor, in a sense.
Yeah. So you're saying the customer becomes your competitor because they think they know everything. I mean, is that?
I mean, yeah.
I let it slip out. Yes, I think that's a subset of what I was describing, because the information is so available that people think that they call it empowering themselves. But this happens it happens in everything. Like, people buy cars, they go research a car before they go get it. They'll know something about the car. But it's really in professional services or services in general. Anything personal, hair care, barbering, of course, our industry, consulting, lawyers, architecture, probably, building houses. Everybody know, you watch HGTV and then you're an expert. It's because the information is out there. So no, you are absolutely correct. And then how do you deal with that? That is probably the next frontier of strategic planning. How do you deal with that? I haven't always dealt with it the best way, but I mean,
Yeah,
you
but you
grow
live and
from
you
it.
learn because we now, we know what we know now,
Yeah,
right?
we know where it's coming from, and now it's man, how do you deal with that? That's
That's
for
why I
one,
say
you have
people
to.
got to. That's why I say solopreneurs, sole proprietors. One and two person business. You
Oh yeah,
gotta have a sounding board of some solid people
man, you
because
gotta have some
you
chops.
need to have antennas outside of your brain so you can
Yeah,
understand what all of this is.
yeah, because especially if you a solopreneur and you do something, some type of. I just use consulting as a thing where you're the product, you're the service. You design the service. It could become real personal
Correct.
because if somebody calls in, they essentially tell you something that you invested time to study. To medical faces this too. People go to doctors and tell them what they need to do for them. Um, and that's competition because what happens is, especially if you get somebody that says like they're so set on what you should be doing, there's somebody out there that'll go along with it,
Mm-hmm.
and that's your competition. But that's where all customers aren't customers. And back to what I said, the customer's not always right.
Right.
This is a perfect example. They could be dead wrong, but they told them that our infamous they, and they believe it. So now you competing with your customer,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have to make sure it doesn't get to where you're competing and you're feeling away because you're defending your knowledge and what you've learned, and you're learning all the time. To do it, it's another version of competition, and how you deal with that is confidence that professional confidence.